Hey, what's going on everybody out there? I'm Jakejames Lugo and welcome to Gamers with Games. Now I'm going to do something a little bit different here on the channel for all of you guys that are tuning in. I'm going to tell all of you my worst convention experience ever. Now, please understand, this is just unique to my experience. Everybody's experience at a convention is going to differ in some form or fashion, but this is what happened to me and why I consider it my absolute worst convention experience ever that I've gone through. Now, I've gone to a number of different events throughout the United States. I've been to Comic-Con, I've been to New York Comic-Con, I've been to PAX East, I'm going to PlayStation Experience very soon, I've been to E3, so I understand what it takes to make an actual good convention experience. But for me, the absolute worst one that I've gone through was at Animate Miami. It was about 1 to 2 years ago, give or take some time. And it was the first time I had gone to Animate Miami, but it wasn't the first time that I had been to an event that was run by this particular group of people down here in South Florida. It's the same group of people that host Florida SuperCon down in Miami, and they do it every single year at various different locations, and they have different guests and stuff like that. But what really made this event for me the worst experience I'd ever gone through was due to a couple different factors. To start things off, which isn't really that bad, it's kind of like part of the business and part of going to events, was the price of the tickets that I actually had to pay. I paid about $150 for 2 tickets, so about $300 to get VIP tickets to get the full experience from this event. I paid it for myself and my girlfriend at the time because we wanted to see what it was like and actually have fun and kind of see all of our friends that I had made down here in the convention scene. Now, while that wasn't bad in of itself, what was bad was everything that followed afterwards. It was my kind of treatment that I got while I was walking around there. A lot of this had to do with my reputation, being in the convention scene, my kind of repertoire with some of the people that helped run the convention. A lot of it felt a little bit like a high school drama where people would constantly just be rude or be nasty to you for one reason or another. Now, while a lot of that isn't something that other people would really experience, what really kind of got to me, though, was what happened in this instance. When I first got to the convention after getting my pass, VIP badge, and stuff, we decided to go over to the front desk and see when we could actually go inside, because one of the perks from being a VIP was that you were allowed to go in early, which is pretty cool in of itself. But afterwards, after we got kind of clarification, they said that, okay, we could go inside, we talked to the front desk, we talked to the guard that was actually standing there in front, and we showed them our VIP badge and everything. They let us go through and we started walking around and it was pretty cool. But what happened afterwards was that after at some point I stopped at a friend's table that they were just setting up and everything. It was mad early in the convention. And this guy walks right up to me, looks at my badge, looks at me like dead in my face, and then looks at my badge and then tells me that I'm not supposed to be there. And I looked at him, I gave him this look, like, really? Like, what are you talking about? I'm VIP, I paid for this. He goes, yeah, we're not letting anybody else in right now. I'm like, how is that the case? I just was at your front desk and I even talked to your security guard that was in front there and they gave me permission to go inside. I mean, I don't understand what's going on here. And we kind of went back and forth and stuff until finally he even offered to escort me out of the actual place after me telling him, listen, the front desk said it was okay to let me in and your security guard just decided to let me in. So why are you coming up and telling me that I'm not supposed to be here? This is a badge I paid for. This is one of the perks that I got. And finally, just without wanting to get into some conflict or anything, I was like, you know what, fine, let's just go to the front desk then. He escorted me and my girlfriend out over to the front desk and went over to the desk and told them, no, we're not letting anybody else in right now. I'm like, why is that going to be such a discrepancy and why is that going to be something where you guys can't agree on before anybody else gets here or clarify to people that you're not doing that when you buy the badge and that's one of the perks you get from getting inside? It was just so confusing me, let alone the security guard, which granted, the security guard was only doing her job. She kind of didn't know what was going on. She was only doing what she was told by some of the people that were there, but everything was just starting to go, get really disorganized and get all messed up and such. Besides that, though, one of the things that really got to me when I was there was the way that the actual staff and the people that were working it treated the people and the attendees that had gone to the event. It was insane to me how a grouping of people, that are running a business and that are running this event and such, knowing that there's people going there and paying good money just to be there within the presence of whether their favorite voice actors and stuff like that they would treat them like cattle. And that's what really pissed me off. Here's one instance that happened. I noticed this. I went to this wrestling event that they used to do where they'll have like this giant wrestling ring in this big auditorium area and they'll have like different people dressed up as different comic characters, anime characters, video game characters, and they would kind of fight on stage and do a little show like that. During the course of this, the actual Sci-Fi Network was there with the show. I believe it was called Heroes of Cosplay, where they were going around and shooting a bunch of different people, you know, getting footage for their show. And they had a couple of the personalities that appeared on the show, like Yaya Han and a few others. Again, if you're big into cosplay, you probably know that name and you know what the show I'm talking about. And while they were there, they were shooting the actual grouping of people and everybody that was in the audience and stuff during the show. But at the same time, while they were doing all that stuff, they were going around to every single seat there in that arena and making people sign these waivers in order for them to use their footage. Now, don't get me wrong, I have no problem actually signing something where if someone wants to use footage of me or anything of the sort. I think that's fine, especially if it's up for a sci-fi show. I don't think they're going to be really that malicious on something so silly like that, especially for someone that's in the audience. But what really kind of got on my nerves and really kind of was distasteful to me was that they were going to every single person in that audience and nagging them to actually sign this stuff. Even for people that were kind of refusing to sign this because they didn't like the show one reason or another. That show got a lot of hate for various different reasons, especially at this event. And they would refuse or say that they didn't want anything to do with it, but they would constantly nag them to do so because they wanted the footage so bad. Here's my thing with this. I've been to plenty of events where there's shows being filmed and there's footage being taken for like documentaries and stuff, and you don't necessarily need to go out to every single person in this audience and get waivers to have them sign. You're not going to just nag people to sign these different things. I understand the business aspect of it, but there's a matter of convenience and kind of an expected nature of when you go to these events, there's going to be things like this that are going down. And I'm pretty sure, and I'm more than confident, that some of the people that were in that audience, myself included, would have no problem with them actually shooting footage for their actual show and their documentary. It just felt like something that was unneeded, and it felt like an extra inconvenience for everybody that was there in the audience just trying to enjoy the show. I remember one of the guys coming up to me, and the first I was kind of like adamant about signing this thing because you don't want to sign something random and then all of a sudden, you know, you get any sort of like bad things that come your way right afterwards or whatnot. He was just, you know, having a real attitude and stuff, and I was like, you know what, I don't really want any problems here. Let me just sign it, just get it over with, because it is kind of stupid in of itself. But we signed that, and again, they just went to every single person. And then when I saw afterwards, after everybody was signing the actual release forms for them to use their footage for their show, they ended up like being like really artificial how they were presenting themselves during the course of the show. Like they were taking footage of the people just like cheering and stuff, but it wasn't anything like, you know, it was actual cheering from the audience. It was just them, like the group of people that they have from the show, getting footage of them just like jumping up, and there's like nothing on the stage. It was just really weird and awkward, and everybody, myself included, was looking at them like, what the hell are these guys doing? I mean, they probably got to get B-roll footage. I totally understand that, but it just felt awkward. It felt like we were being part of some sort of like, you know, stage presentation or any sort of like show behind the scenes, you know, as like paid extra or non-paid extras of this show, and we didn't even realize we paid to be at this convention. All of a sudden we're being put kind of like to work in a sense. Like it was just really weird and awkward. But then that kind of went onward later on during the cosplay contest, and it just was another thing where I felt I was dissatisfied with what I saw and had a bad taste in my mouth from seeing that the way that they treated their people. Basically, I go to the cosplay contest, I'm just walking around, I'm alone at the time, and I'm just seeing how everything's going down. And I see that they got all these crazy camera setups and everything, and everybody's excited in the auditorium just looking at what's going down. And all of a sudden, like, everybody's being asked in the audience not to cheer, not to do certain stuff, so that way the show could get footage of the people, and I guess whether it's for the microphones or whatever else, trying to get them to actually, I guess, get the best shot or whatever else that they were trying to do. But the point was, they're telling the people in the audience not to cheer and not to have any sort of reaction. And I'm like, have you been to a convention down here in South Florida? Or have you been to any sort of convention whatsoever? People are supposed to get excited. That's why you're here for. Do you ever hear stories about going to San Diego Comic-Con or New York Comic-Con where people are asking the audience members, the attendees that paid to be there, not to make a sound during some sort of presentation? This isn't like, you know, any sort of kind of like, you know, symphony or orchestra or things like that where you're kind of expected to be a little courteous so everybody can hear the music and stuff. This is just someone showing their outfit in front of a few judges that were just there for the weekend at the time. And everybody's being told like to hush down, to shut up, and then not be an inconvenience to the group that was trying to film the thing. And it's like, wait a second, we all paid to be here. We're not part of your crew or something like that. Why do we have to do that? I mean, it didn't make any sense. It didn't even make more sense when all the banners all over the place weren't even the actual logos for the convention themselves. It was for the group that was running the thing, but it was specifically for their other event, which kind of didn't make any sense to me. But then things came to a head where I saw a couple extra little tidbits of bad treatment towards people that really put me off and really got me mad for actually being there. One of the things that I saw is that towards the end of one of the nights that I was there, and it happened in other nights based on what people I've, talked to and stuff that were there, where the staff was treating people like shit, like really bad. People that paid like $50+, if not more, probably as much as I did, like $150 for their ticket, and they're getting treated like garbage there. Towards the end of the evening, on one instance where I talked to someone, and what I actually saw was that a group of people, like, again, just attendees that were hanging around, towards the end of the day, things are starting to close up, they're hanging out in the hallways. It's probably about maybe 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning and such. And you have these grouping of, like, people that are working the event, like these actual staff members, going by to these young kids, telling them to get the fuck out, like screaming at them like if they were like their parents or something, like really nasty and stuff. And these are kids, granted some of them were young, these are kids that actually paid good money to be there. They even did it to a couple adults that I saw there. And I was just outwardly shocked. Like, why would you treat people like that have paid to be here? It's one thing to tell people and ask them nicely, listen, can you please leave? We're trying to actually clear the area. We have to clear everybody out the building and stuff. And even you could get a little bit loud and stuff. But I don't think in any sort of instance you have to treat people like that. Tell them to get the fuck out and scream at them like you're freaking kicking them out of the club. It's really stupid and really insane in my opinion. Why would anybody think that's okay? And a lot of people complained about this. It was really insane. One of the other instances that I heard about from a personal friend of mine, she was actually walking around waiting for a friend of hers to get out of the bathroom. And she had her stuff and everything like that. She's sitting in a bench and stuff. And this staff member walked up to her and started harassing her in a sense where he was like completely just, again, berating her with insults, telling her that she needed to get the hell up out of here or he was going to physically remove her. And she's explaining to the guy, listen, I'm here, I'm waiting for my friend to get out of the bathroom. I'm gonna be leaving with them. They're just in there probably taking a piss or taking a shit right now. Just give us a couple minutes. So, we understand you have to clear out the building, but there's no need to be like that. And the guy just wasn't receptive. He just kept going at her constantly, even tried to grab her, again, try to pull her away and stuff, put his hands on her, and she lost her mind. Again, it's a friend of mine that used to be in the military and stuff, and she was telling her, listen, you put your hands on me, I'm really gonna take you down like that, and you're gonna get in trouble. And again, back and forth with stuff. But my point is, telling all this is like, why a staff or why a company or a group that runs an event would think that's okay to do that? Now, granted, it never went out to like the media and the press and stuff like that. Again, it wasn't really towards anyone, where they went to a major media outlet and tried to blow this out the water. These were stories and things that you heard from people or you saw yourself while you were running around the event. And it just was so distasteful to me, and it was so kind of like jaw-dropping to me, like why things like this would be okay. My main thing besides this is that I always felt that when you go to an event, and whether you're paying money, whether you're just going there to enjoy the sights and stuff like that, you're actually paying to be there, and you should be treated as so. When I paid for VIP to go to their event, I always felt like, again, you should be given a little bit much more, attention and stuff. You're paying to be there as a VIP. That's why you pay so much money to be there. And one of the other things that they never did, which I thought was insane to me, because I learned later on at other events, when you promise this thing, you're supposed to get it. You were supposed to get like a certain access to like a line, with your VIP ticket to go into panels early, or to go to certain events a little bit early, like a whole separate line, just to separate people so they could limit the lines and they could limit the actual amount of traffic that's going through some of the areas there. And they never did something like that. The only perks you got for being a VIP, believe this or not, this is insane, where you got a couple little knickknacks that was like really stupid. It was like posters of events that they've done in the past that had nothing to do with this event. You got, frontline access to all the autographs, which you still had to pay for, by the way. So on top of your $150 ticket, you still have to pay like $60+ depending on the person to get the autograph, but you could just go to the front of the line to pay more money. And it's just like, wait a second, how is that really a perk? I get it, you get to the front of the line to get your best autograph that you really want in front of everybody else, but like something there just didn't seem right to me. It didn't seem like enough to pay that money. And again, you were supposed to get into the front of the line and start panels, which they never did. And I was like, okay, like what is then really the perks of getting all this? Let alone not even letting me get to the front of the line, or at least, going in early when I was originally supposed to based on their stuff. I mean, it sounds a little bit like complaining, but you gotta understand, when you're there in the environment after you feel like you've paid and such, they're like, you're expected to get these things, especially if you were told this is why you're paying this amount of money. But also besides that, I mean, there was other things here and there personally for me where the staff just really didn't like me based on my past history covering the events and stuff. You know, I was very outspoken in this scene, you know, the convention scene and such. But really, that was my worst experience where I saw literally bad things happening in front of me and I just was so put off by it. I always said to myself, like, there's all this crazy stuff that goes on here and it's so insane why people think that's okay, yet I've gone to bigger conventions and bigger events and stuff around the United States, and this would never happen whatsoever. You never hear about this type of stuff going on at San Diego Comic-Con, at New York Comic-Con, at PAX East, at E3, GDC, you know, I would even argue Dragon Con to an extent, even though I've never been to Dragon Con, but I've never heard a bad thing like that, you know, in that same vein happening from such an event. Point is this. Whenever you go to an event, you're going there as an attendee, you should never be shortchanged and you should never settle for garbage treatment from any sort of event. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's the biggest and best event that's out there or the worst event that's out there. You should be treated like a paying customer and be treated like someone whose time and money and resources is valuable for actually being there. That's what I feel like, you know, should happen in every single event that you go to. You should never be treated like garbage, you should never be treated like cattle, and you should never settle for crappy treatment whatsoever. With that being said, guys, that's my worst convention story ever. Again, ever since then, I've never gone back to one of their events because I always felt like, again, they don't understand how to treat people good. Everybody's experience is different, but that's exactly what I experienced going there to Animate Miami and any one of their other events they've had afterwards. Since then, I've gone to much more cooler events, which I felt like I enjoyed myself a lot more besides doing work and such, but it was still much more awesome than being at a place like that. So hopefully, maybe in the next couple of years, they get their act together and they can actually do some stuff better, but who knows? I'm not holding my breath for it anytime soon. With that being said, guys, I hope you enjoyed this little story video. Again, it's something different on the channel that I haven't really done as much, and, you know, let me know in the comment section what you guys think about something like this. Leave me a comment down below. Tell me if you liked it, if you disliked it, if you want to see more stuff like this or not. Anything that's on your mind, put it in the comment section below. Don't forget to leave me a like on this video, subscribe to the Gamers with Gains channel for all my videos about gaming, stronger living, and a whole bunch of other cool stuff like videos like these here on the channel. And also, don't forget, I'm streaming every single day on Twitch TV, playing a variety of different video games. I did a whole bunch of different streams this weekend, which was pretty awesome. We had a fun chat, a couple people that were hanging out in there. We had a lot of back and forth talking about games and stuff. It's a really cool place to be at. I've even started some other cool little neat activities during the streams that have a lot more kind of audience interaction or audience participation. We have this thing called positivity raids. So if you want to know what those things are specifically, come into the actual stream. It's going to be really fun. It's going to be interesting, and you might actually have fun and enjoy it. I will talk to all of you guys again real soon. Peace out. Stay epic, everybody.